This episode is brought to you by Amazon. The holidays are here, and you know what that means? It's time to get your friends and family the gifts they deserve. Take the stress out of shopping with Amazon's great deals and low prices on a huge range of items from toys to tech and much more. Whoever you're gifting for, Amazon has great prices on everything you need this holiday season. Shop Amazon for all your gifting needs.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like you know to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
All right. Welcome back. It's Fit Nation. All right, let's welcome to the Misfit Nation, Marie Alessi, she's an author, mother of two boys, influencer speaker. After her husband passed from a brain aneurysm at an age of 45, she found and created her way back to joy. She instinctively knew it was the only path worthy for them young boys to see joy and move forward. Her husband had taught her the concept of two choices, and this one was made in his honor. To make him proud, Maria has become the shining example of choosing love over fear and sadness. Welcome to the show, Marie.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
It's great that we're able to connect from across the world.
Yay.
2 different seasons right now, so it's you're in the joyous season.
Coming from summer season in Australia. Yeah.
We're in the gloom of winter here in the States. So
let me bring some sunshine to your life right now.
Thank you. Bring it. It'll be much enjoyment here for sunshine. Yeah. So if you don't mind, Maria, just tell us a little bit about your background from as far back as you want to go to where we are now.
Okay, well, I'll try to do the nutshell version, then you can ask me whatever you like in more detail. So my nutshell story is I was born in Austria, in Vienna, and flew to Australia the first time when I was 25 years old. Absolutely loved it. It was a really strong calling that led me to this country, and knew instantly I had to make Australia my home, which happened about 7 years later. So in 2004, I moved here for good. Met my husband in 2005, got married in 2006. If somebody would have told me that beforehand, you would meet a man on the other side of the world and marry him within 10 months and 10 days of meeting him, I would have asked them if they're absolutely nuts, to be quite frankly, here. So, but then when I met Rob and he proposed, I was like, of course, there was no questions asked apart from marry me. And it was really incredible meeting someone and knowing in your heart for sure that this is the right person for you. It was incredible. I never knew this would be possible on such a level. And we had our dream barefoot wedding, had our 2 sons 2 and 4 years after, and lived a very happy life. Actually, we were known as that couple. Everybody was like, oh, Maria and Rob, you too. And we were just always I felt like it was a constant falling in love with Rob. Like ever since I met him, there was never an intense argument that we had. You have differences every now and then, but mostly there was just really in tune, beautiful communications, and a very happy life. Rob was at the prime of his life. He had just changed jobs like about 18 months prior to me receiving this phone call that Rob had deceased in a hotel room in Perth. Those were the exact words that were used by the sergeant from the coroner's office that rang me, because I've been trying to get in touch with him the entire day. I couldn't, and then I received those news. So this is my story as much in a nutshell as you can get it.
And that's still a lot in a small version of your story. the whirlwind romance to marriage. That's kind of almost the same timeline as me and my wife. I met her in December '93. We were married in May of '94. So,
wow, congratulations! I love it.
so it's not shocking, but it's rare that it happens like this. And you found your person, and you had a great time together for the time you had.
We had over 13 years together, and I never regretted a minute of it. Yeah.
And you still bring a smile to your face when you think about him. So that's what it's about, right?
Absolutely.
There. And I already mentioned that he passed from an aneurysm. Was there any signs of that coming or anything like that?
You know, you ask yourself a question, obviously, and Rob was, as I said, prime of his life, really healthy. He loved the water. He was a surfer. You know, he was really healthy and fit, and he always did regular checkups with a doctor. And when we sat through the report, she said to me, Marie, not even in hindsight could we have prevented that, you know. And looking back, he had a major headache before he left, but he had just come out of a cold. He had a really bad head cold and was in bed for a couple of days with high temperatures. And it was literally, it came as fast as it went. And so we didn't really think of anything. It was just, you know, when somebody gets sick, you don't think like, oh, you could die from a brain aneurysm. You don't do that. You know, somebody gets sick, you have a temperature, you get a fever, and you get over it and move on. And the only thing we were worried about was if he would make it on the flight, because he was so shortly before he had to fly out to the other side of Australia for a business trip. And he made it. He felt really fit and okay, like about a day before he had to fly out. So there were no obvious signs, nothing that could have in any way prevented that. Yet in the morning, he was supposed to wake me up because we were chatting the night before, and I said, something didn't work with my phone backing up. And he said, why don't you just back it up again, try it overnight? And I said, because I need it as an alarm in the morning. And he said, oh, don't worry, I'll ring you. And I said, but that's 5:30 for you, because on the other side, there's a time difference. He said, yeah, I have to be up that early. I'm getting picked up. So I'm like, okay, perfect. And I remember looking at the clock, and it was 7:31 when I woke up, and he hadn't rung. Oh. And I had this niggly weird feeling. I thought, that's odd, because Rob was always on time. I could always rely on him. It was just this short thought of that's odd. But then as a mom, you go about your day. I had 2 kids to get ready for school, and I kept texting him during the day, and I was like, why is he not getting back to me yet? You know, something. So anyway, it went on and on and on. And then finally, I actually rang the hotel, because I thought, you know, I still haven't heard from him. And then I realized I have the number from the hotel. I ring them and I said, can you please send somebody up to his room? And as I'm ringing them, this is really bizarre, I know, but as I'm ringing them, I'm having this very weird, super short vision of Rob collapsing in a shower. So I added to the conversation. I said, and can you please check in the shower? And I thought, why not? They must think I'm nuts, you know, but that's where they found him. Wow. He had collapsed in a shower and died. Yeah.
Wow. It's like you were really connected and you felt it basically. That's very inspirational right there. And this,
thank you.
Where were the boys when this happened? Were they in school or something?
Unfortunately not. Well, during the whole day while I was trying to contact Rob, Flynn, my oldest son, was at school. He was 10 at the time. Jed, who was 8 at the time, he had a really bad cough. He woke up with a bad cough. He stayed home. So I spent the day like working a little bit in the morning, and then I promised him to take him to a cafe in the afternoon. And I kid you not, it was one of the worst days, because usually when you have a one-on-one day with your child, you want to be there for them. You want to be present. And I was so absent. I could feel my anxiety levels rising with every unanswered phone call or text. My anxieties, I just really felt this anxiety rising, and I didn't know what to do about it. And I didn't want to alarm him either. I wanted, you know, to make sure that he's okay until I knew anything. And when I then finally received the phone call that Rob had passed, they were both at home. So they were both downstairs in a living room. We've got a split level. So I was upstairs in the bedroom making these phone calls, and they were both dressed in their Hapkido uniform, because they both did martial arts at the time, and they were ready to go to training. So they were sitting there with their uniform waiting for me to take them to training. And then I came downstairs and had to share these news with them, which was horrendous.
Yeah, I'm sure it was that's not the news they wanted to get, especially when they're going through the motions of their day and wanting to go and do Hapkido. And then that just put that wrench in that, and that probably made it hard for them to ever want to go to Hapkido again after that.
Yeah, they still went for a while, to be honest, because it was a really beautiful, I think that was like a sort of family they needed to be there for them. And I also remember the first grading after Rob had passed, and I just burst into tears because Rob wasn't there to see it. So it was just, there was a lot going on, but they did it for another half a year or so. And then they just went to a state where they just needed time out, just nothing, no responsibilities, just a break from everything. So they went from doing sports like 4 times a week to nothing. So, yeah, but.
Oh, it's good that they had that reach of a family with the dojo, the martial arts there. That way,
absolutely,
someone to put their heads on and be able to release some of the anger and pain that they were going through from losing their dad.
Yeah. Oh, their instructor, Seamus, he was incredible, and his wife, they was just absolutely beautiful. They really looked after us. Yeah. That's
awesome to have that, especially in a time like that, when unexpected time, especially.
Yeah.
So did you want to be a writer before this happened, or this just made you want to write your story?
I actually always had this feeling that I would love to share my story one day, and but never really seriously. No, it was actually through an experience that I had it was a week after the funeral, I believe. I had a nervous breakdown in the kitchen. And I remember that moment when everything just burst. It was like a valve had opened that I couldn't close anymore. The boys were upstairs brushing their teeth, and I started bickering over something. I said, guys, can you just please, I was in so much overwhelm. There had been so much going on. And I remember asking them 2 or 3 times, and they didn't listen, as boys do, because when they're in their bickering, they don't listen to the background noise, aka mum. They were just going on. And then I literally heard myself yelling out. I was like, I just need peace and quiet, just like that. And the moment I said that, something snapped. I could not stop saying that sentence anymore. And I started saying it louder and louder, and I yelled it, and then I screamed it, and I screamed it on top of my lungs, and I was literally breaking down and whacking the kitchen cupboards, and I was just screaming. I ended up just on the floor screaming, and I still remember it was such an out-of-body experience. It was like I was watching myself, how I was falling apart, and I could not do anything about it. And I kept thinking, are the neighbors going to call the police or an ambulance? Who's going to come and pick me up? And what are the boys going to do when I'm in hospital? And like all these things were going through my mind, thinking, I'm losing my stuff here. I really need to keep it together. And I couldn't. It was an absolute meltdown. And after that, it was complete silence. I remember that. So out of that, as you can imagine, I had a really intense conversations with the boys about that. I felt so guilty and so horrible that I couldn't protect them from witnessing that. I felt so horrible for them, how much fear there would have been for them witnessing their mom fall apart after their dad had just died. And I made a commitment to myself there and then. I'm like, I need help. I need to see someone. I need to talk to somebody about this. I've been holding space for everybody else. I've been keeping my shit together, excuse my French here, for everyone else. I need to do something for me right now, because otherwise I'm not going to be a mom for them. I can't be there for them. I can't be a good mom for them. And I needed that. I needed to be there for them, and I knew that they needed it. We all needed it, all 3 of us. So I went and saw someone, and I told her about my breakdown, and I told her about everything that had happened and how I felt throughout it, and all the expectations, how people expect you to grieve, and that I was doing it differently. And I remember she looked at me so calmly, and she said, so what does grief mean to you, Marie? And I was like, wow. I was just taken by surprise, because the first word that came up when she asked me that was empowerment. And I didn't expect that. I did not expect that word. And I looked at her, we talked about it. And as I shared my emotions, why and how I felt like that, I said, you know what, I think I need to write a book about this. And this is where the idea was born, through my breakdown, actually, where I thought I need people to know our story. And how I dealt with that. Because the breakdown was just one short moment, but everything else was empowerment and strength and love and happiness and choices. And, there was just so much else in there. And I wanted people to know that there is other ways of dealing with grief and not just the falling apart.
Definitely. And that actually, it helped you in a way that you probably would have never seen that coming either, by you having that out of body experience as you described it. And
no, not like that.
flailing on the ground and yelling, and that made you make the decision to seek help. And you might not have done that if that didn't happen then, and this whole domino effect wouldn't have happened. Of your
I would have just carried on. Probably I can do this, as you often think as a mom and as a strong woman, I can do this. Till you break down. And
you're trying to do everything you can for everyone at that time, not just the boys, but
children,
everyone outside.
But everybody.
And it at some point it has to stop, and you at that point, that's what happened. It stopped for you, and you were able to come out of it and write Loving Life After Loss. And then what happened when you seen that climb as soon as it was released and climb up the charts?
Oh my God. It was so unexpected, to be honest. It became an Amazon #1 bestseller, and it ranked in the top 100 of Australia. I was blown away, and I instantly thought, Rob, you've got your hands in this. This is incredible. I was just like, pulling some strings up there, good connections. But it was just really unbelievable. And I had actually planned a trip around the world for the boys and myself, because Rob and I wanted to take them traveling. We had planned to take them out of school and homeschool them for an entire year in 2019 and take them traveling around the world. We already had the entire itinerary standing. We wanted to start through South America and go through Europe and Asia and have like an endless summer for a whole year. And then when he passed June 2018, I'm like, well, that ain't gonna happen. There's no way that I would be able to, with everything that we had just gone through, to homeschool 2 boys on my own and travel through South America on my own with 2 young boys. I'm like, no way. So this is one of the things I do. I look at the things that I can do. And that's why I thought, okay, what can I do with the boys on my own? And I planned this trip for 2 months around the world and planned it through countries where I felt safe traveling on my own with 2 young boys. And so I did. Wow. So I published a book in October, and end of November, we were on the plane and we traveled until end of January 2019. It was incredible, absolutely incredible.
Wow, that's awesome. And I'm sure the experience for them was amazing to see all other places around the world and experience the cultures.
It was exactly what we needed, new memories, happy memories, creating something for the 3 of us. And that's where, when I was in Vienna, like we spent Christmas in Vienna, in my hometown where I was born. And I was going through this whole, have a bit of what happened in the past half a year. This was so intense, this whole time, as in everything was planned step by step. Everything I did was just going through the motions and what's the next step and what's the next step. And, the funeral and the paperwork and the writing the book and then traveling around the world. And I'm sitting there going like, this is insane what we've just gone through. So much has happened in this half a year. And all of a sudden I had this epiphany that I thought, this is so much more than just a book. There's something I have that the world needs. And that is hope, that is happiness, that is healing. And I need to share this with the world. So this is where not just I was born in Vienna, but also my idea to create this movement. So it was quite incredible for that to happen in Vienna. And so when I came back to Australia, I found the perfect mentor for it, and off we went. A week after, I was in a workshop and recording my welcome videos for the movement. And 2 weeks later, I opened the movement, and it literally felt like jumping off a cliff and growing my wings on the way down. That's how I describe that moment. But I did it, and here we are 2.5 years later, and the movement is 3,500 people. It's just incredible what has happened ever since.
Have you seen a lot more growth due to the pandemic as well, or was it steadily growing without it?
You would think so, but obviously I can't say what would have happened without it. But I I noticed intense growth spurts whenever we had media appearances, which happened quite frequently. So my story has been shared in various magazines and in podcasts like yours right now, in in even a TV interview, a very short one, and then radio stations. Like the story really spread around, and I made sure that I would spread the story as far and wide as I could, because I really felt this is my mission. I want to heal the world from grief. And when I first said it out loud, I almost scoffed. I thought this is way too big. And now I'm like, no, this is not big enough. This is really what's needed. And I'm not alone in this. I really want to build this army of love and just spread the word around the world and bring this to as many people as possible, because healing really is possible. And a lot of people don't see that when they're stuck in grief.
Right, because they're going through whatever the phases of grief that the doctors call it, but like you said, everyone does it differently, and everyone finds a different way to power through it. Like you were empowered by it to start this, and you created a movement. So what can people expect in your movement?
So I always say there's a lot of love and support in this group, and I stand by that. It really is, because when I look into other grief support groups, I don't see a lot of support in there. There's usually a lot of competition. Who's had it worse, who was younger when they died, whose husband was younger, whose kids were younger, or even unborn, or who had more kids, or who got less money or got their money later, or it's just everything is a competition. And I'm absolutely certain these people aren't even doing it consciously, but this is what's happening in those groups. When you look in there, everything is about the pain, the suffering, the loss. There'll always be a hole in my heart. It'll never get better. This is my life now. It's just horrible, really, really horrible. And I have noticed with everything that I do, that grief is the only acceptable form of suffering in the human race, where people completely agree with that and do whatever they can to keep you stuck there. If that was a physical or any other illness, a mental form of illness, whatever we are talking about here, people would focus on the healing. But in grief, for whatever reason, nobody does. I don't get it. I really don't understand that. Yet I did something to do it differently. And this is why I created Loving Love After Loss. So in my group, I have healing journeys available. So people, when they come in, there's a free healing journey as a welcome gift. It's called From Grief to Relief. I share my 7 simple steps. I'm not saying they're easy, but simple steps, how you can actually move out of those really depths of suffering, the depth of the pain that you feel, how you can slowly but surely move yourself out, step back into empowerment, shift your perspectives around it. Everything is a shift in perspective. Every meaning is the meaning that we give it. And sometimes the we is the society, how we've learned what meaning we put on grief, or sometimes it's our own. But we have the power to change this. We have the choice, key word, to change this. And that's what I offer in my group. So it's a free healing journey. There's also a beautiful program, a group program that is called The Blank Canvas, quite self-explaining. Really, it is a blank canvas. When somebody dies in your life, you can see it as the end of the road or as a blank canvas. What do I put on this canvas? How do I want to create my life from there on in? And then there are retreats that I run twice a year. So that, unfortunately, at the moment, I'm saying unfortunately because you're not here, this is only in Australia at the moment, but who knows, when the boys are old enough, I might be traveling with that retreat as well. I've had quite a few invitations already to the US and Canada, and maybe that's going to happen one day, but right now the retreats are solely in Australia.
I mean, someone I'm sure would love to go to Australia and check that out for a retreat to just relax.
I have 2 ladies in Canada who want to fly here. As soon as they're allowed to.
Yeah, as soon as you're allowed to get in, it's the restrictions and such now for passports.
Exactly. We'll get there.
It'll happen sooner or later. Everyone's going to realize we can live with this and treat it like something else, like a flu or a cold or something.
Yeah.
And try to fight through it like we have everything else throughout history.
Yeah. Correct.
And you said something earlier about how we don't try to heal someone that's grieving, and that's obvious in history. You would see, like, if you if your husband died and you were in the 1940s or 50s, you would be expected to wear black for a year or two after that to show that you were grieving. If not, then you were a bad person.
Or 10 if you're Italian. Yeah.
Yes. I didn't want to go with the Italian portion, but but if you didn't do it, then you were a bad person, but you weren't grieving properly. But there is no real definition of how to grieve. It's just what society puts on us or on a culture. And I think what you're doing is opening the whole Pandora's box to say, hey, we can do this with love and live your life the way that your loved one wanted you to, and and make joy instead of pain.
Yeah, I absolutely love it.
So how does someone get in contact with you to maybe have you give a speech to their friends or to a grief group or even sign up for your programs?
I think the easiest option would be my website. It's mariealessi.com, and you find all the links there. You can join my group from there. You can get my book from there. You can have, a chat with me. There's a get in touch button where you can book a short conversation with me. My story is on there. There's a little video about us, and also all the details about the programs, retreats, etc. So you will find all the links there. And soon there will be a new link because I'm about to publish my next book called Happy Healing. So I'm super excited about that. I needed to bring that in there.
Nice. And that's going to be on Amazon as well?
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. And everyone get out there and check out both books. Of course, the first one, get that one done first and then read the second one so you're not messed up in there.
Thank you.
Marie, thanks for coming on to Misfit Nation and taking some of your time here and spreading some of your joy to us and your summer to us. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
No problem. You know how we do this. Thanks for taking some of your time to spend with us on Misfit Nation. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and share the link as much as possible. If you want to, please become a supporter to help us carry this thing on. We appreciate you. If you know someone that brings that energy, has a great story, is an up-and-comer in any industry of music, in the arts, have them reach out to us on themisfitnation.com. We will get back to them within one day and get them on here so they can share their story with the world. As always, till next time, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling, because we are Fit Nation.